Absolutely. Here's a dramatic, in-depth, and emotionally engaging YouTube article titled Pontiac GTO Elevation 2006, the final roar of a muscle car legend. In the vast arena of American muscle, one name strikes like a thunderclap through time: Pontiac GTO. Born in rebellion, raised in raw horsepower, and resurrected in the 21st century for one final charge. This is the story of the 2006 Pontiac GTO, the last evolution of a legend, the final roar before silence. It wasn't just a car. It was a resurrection, a love letter to an era when power ruled and the road belonged to those with lead feet. Let's unlock the doors to this beast and relive the rise, the revival, and the unforgettable farewell of one of America's most iconic muscle machines. A ghost reawakens. The original GTO was the godfather. The muscle car blueprint. It ruled the streets in the 60s and 70s with thunderous V8s and a fearless attitude. But in 1974, the fire dimmed. The badge faded. For nearly 30 years, the streets were silent. Then, in 2004, a whisper turned into a roar. Pontiac announced the GTO was back. But it wasn't coming from Detroit. It was coming from Australia. Built on the Holden Monaro platform, refined by GM's Global Performance division, and rebadged with the legendary three letters, GTO. A bold move, a risky play, but also a declaration. The king was returning. The 2006 GTO, final form. By 2006, the GTO had evolved into its most refined, most powerful form. This was no throwback tribute. It was a modern muscle coupe wrapped in subtle sophistication. A sleeper, a shark in the shadows. Under the hood, 6.0 LS2 V8 engine. 400 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. Let that sink in. This wasn't just fast for a muscle car. It was fast for anything on the road in 2006. Mustangs, Chargers, even European rivals, they all took notice. The GTO wasn't here to reminisce. It was here to dominate. Design, understated aggression. Unlike the flashy muscle cars of the past, the 2006 GTO whispered instead of screamed. Its design was smooth, elegant, almost too subtle for what lived beneath the skin. A clean front fascia with a dual scoop hood. Rounded body lines that curved like a sports coupe. Subtle GTO badging, 17 or 18-inch alloy wheels. And dual exhausts that growled like a sleeping beast. Critics said it didn't look muscle enough. But those who knew, knew. It wasn't about showing off. It was about showing up, blowing past, and disappearing into the horizon. The cockpit of power. Slide into the GTO's cabin, and you're met with a fusion of sport and simplicity. Deep bolstered leather seats, sculpted to hug you at 100 miles per hour. Red backlit gauges, reminding you this car meant business. A short-throw 6-speed Tremec manual shifter, crisp, mechanical, precise. Optional Blaupunkt stereo, dual-zone climate control, and real build quality. This wasn't retro. It wasn't nostalgic. It was a performance sanctuary. Every switch, every dial, every inch screamed, "Let's go faster." Pure LS2 fury. At the heart of the 2006 GTO beat the legendary LS2 engine. This wasn't just a GM V8. It was a masterpiece. All aluminum block, 10.9, 1 compression. Drive-by-wire throttle, rev limit of 6,500 RPM. Mash the pedal, and the world warped around you. The rear tires screamed. The torque hit like a sledgehammer. The exhaust note rose into a banshee's wail. There were no fancy driving modes. No launch control. No filters. Just raw American power, unleashed at will. Handling the beast. While the GTO had brute force, it wasn't a one-trick pony. It cornered with surprising agility thanks to its Australian chassis. Rear-wheel drive, independent suspension, balanced weight distribution. This was no drag-strip dinosaur. It could carve through curves, dance on canyon roads, and hold its own against European sports coupes. Drivers found themselves grinning through G-forces, their confidence growing with every turn. It wasn't just powerful, it was poised. A market misunderstood. And yet, the 2006 GTO struggled. Why? Because America expected retro, loud stripes, shaker hoods, old-school charm. Instead, Pontiac gave them a modern muscle assassin, sleek, subtle, and global. It didn't look like a 60s GTO. It didn't sound like nostalgia. It was too smart, too refined, too ahead of its time. Sales dwindled. Enthusiasts argued, but a cult following began to rise. Because true car lovers saw through the surface. They saw the beast beneath. The final year, one last burnout. 2006 marked the end. Pontiac was fighting for relevance. Muscle cars were surging, but retro was king. Ford had the Mustang GT. Dodge was teasing the Challenger. Chevy was dreaming of the Camaro's return. And Pontiac, they were pouring everything into the GTO's final year. Final production tweaks. Better exhaust note. Larger brakes. New colors, like brazen orange metallic and spice red. Limited production numbers, making the 2006 model year a future classic. It was Pontiac's last punch. And oh, how it landed a legacy sealed in smoke. The 2006 Pontiac GTO may not have sold in massive numbers. But those who bought it, they never looked back, because it wasn't about popularity. It was about purity. The GTO stood as a final testament to what made muscle cars legendary. Real power, real noise, rear-wheel drive, manual transmission, no apologies. It was a car that didn't just move, it moved you. And as Pontiac itself faded into history, the GTO became a symbol. A monument to what was, and what should have been. The modern-day legend. Today, the 2006 GTO is a cult classic. Prices are rising, clean examples are hunted, tuners and collectors alike recognize its value. Why? Because it's the last GTO ever made. The only one with an LS2. One of the most underrated performance cars of its era. A sleeper with 400 horses and a 6-speed. It's a time capsule of mid-2000s performance. A bridge between classic muscle and modern power. And when you fire it up, that rumble still gives you goosebumps. Why the GTO still matters. The 2006 GTO matters because it dared to be different. It didn't ride the retro wave. It didn't pander to the past. It brought the muscle car into the modern world, with elegance and ferocity. It was a car for drivers, not just fans. It was the last stand of Pontiac. And it went out swinging. Because sometimes, the real legends don't scream the loudest. Sometimes, they whisper, just before they unleash hell. Final chapter. The GTO that time almost forgot. But we remember the way it looked, smooth, bold, unafraid to be different. We remember the way it sounded, that LS2 symphony of speed. We remember the way it drove, fast, fierce, and free. The 2006 Pontiac GTO wasn't perfect. But it was real, and in a world increasingly filled with digital speed and synthetic sensations. This car reminds us of a time when rubber met road, and soul met speed. It wasn't just the end of a nameplate. It was Pontiac's last love letter to the muscle car world. And oh, what a letter it was. Would you like a matching voiceover script, music cues, or footage suggestions to bring this to life on YouTube?